Hello everyone, Stropes here again. I am going to be playing on Force Table, doing the pre-release sealed pool like you can do on there. I've already built the deck, but I'll go through it really quickly. We opened a Gar Saxon. Gar Saxon is a common rarity leader. If you don't know, Shadows of the Galaxy is really based around upgrades, kind of like upgrade heavy, and this leader kind of leans directly into that. So each friendly upgraded unit gets +1 power. His leader side, I can't really flip him over from this view, but he's a 4/7. He comes out on 6, and if your upgrades are defeated, your unit the unit that they're on is defeated, he can return them to your hand. So we are playing a few upgrades, not a whole lot, but a lot of our units are getting upgrades. It's worth noting and paying a lot, really close attention to him and other leaders. Upgrades that are tokens also count. So experience tokens still count. They count as the unit counts as being an upgraded unit, and so do shields. So we're leaning into a little bit of that. You can see that right away with this Cargo Juggernaut, which is a reprint from Spark of Rebellion. Pretty good card, sees constructed play in blue decks, plenty of blue decks. But that shield will give it 1 more power with Gar Saxon, so it is a 5/6 with shields, and it will heal our base for 4 if we've got another blue unit out. That can include Gar himself. We're playing 1 Criminal Muscle. I would play more of these if I had opened them. I think they'll be very good in sealed and draft in that environment. When played, they can return a non-unique upgrade to the owner's hand. So it won't hit stuff like Dark Saber, but Dark Saber is a legendary. How often are you going to be seeing that? Probably not that often, but it can knock off like a shield on a Cargo Juggernaut or some other unit that you want to get that off of. Either to debuff them if you're playing against a deck like Gar Saxon, or just because you're trying to play a little bit of board control or something like that, you want to knock that shield off and then run a unit into that. So I think Criminal Muscle will be pretty useful, especially at 1. Pretty good. Dr. Pershing is our first rare that we're going into. His action is he taps to deal a damage to a friendly unit, and then you can draw a card. He is very good in those grit decks, and at the end when I go over our total card pool, I did consider running a red, blue, and black deck instead of yellow, but I think there's a few more upgrade cards when we get into space to fill out our space units that I decided to go with blue, like this privateer ship right there, that kind of a thing. So also cards like Criminal Muscle, I thought it was, case to be made for either way. Dr. Pershing is really great into those grit decks, whether that's blue or red, because he deals the damage to the unit and you're drawing. And if you're playing in a kind of control deck, or really any deck, you probably want to be drawing some. And since he's got 5 health, he'll stay around a little bit and draw you some cards. This can be really important, especially in sealed or draft, because you're playing with a 30-card deck. So if you draw a really good card, or you open one, he'll help you draw into that. And here we're really looking for Maul. We're playing 1 out of aspect Maul, because even at 9 in sealed, because he's got ambush, so he can attack immediately the second he comes down. We may go up to 9, right? They may go that long, so we want to be able to attack with him right when he comes out. And we do have a handful of underworld units to be able to sack to him to keep him around even longer. So Pershing will be good there for the draw. We have Phoenix Shand on 7. Also's got ambush, so she can attack right away when she comes out, and she'll deal 1 damage to the defending unit for each different cost among cards and discard. So not, super happy about that. Just running it to kind of fill out our top end. She's not bad by any means, but, if we opened, more malls, things like that, we'd be running those over her. I think she can one hit a fair amount of stuff because of the different costs. You probably have like 3 or 4 different costs in your graveyard or your discard at this time. So she'll probably be able to kill a unit with 7 health, maybe even more depending on what you've got in your discard at the time. So she should be able to trade at the very least for some pretty big units, probably even like a mall. If your opponent has them all, you could probably trade for that. Fugitive Wookiee is just a low cost card to put early board pressure on our opponents. The bounty is to exhaust one of our units. If they can defeat this Wookiee, they'll exhaust one of ours, which is not too much of a setback. In Constructed, playing 3 of these can be a little hit or miss, but just playing 1, being able to push out some early damage can be pretty good. We're playing Hunter of the Haxion Brood. So while an enemy unit has a bounty, they have shielded. So like with Fugitive Wookiee, things like that, I mean, they can already come out with shielded, right? So another reason why I played this over a red version of this deck is because of these cards right here. Because if they come out with a shield, they are a 5/3 shielded 4/3, which is very good. Just because of Gar Saxon's ability. We also have a few ways you can see over here in the upgrade section, and we'll go over that when we get there, to put bounties on stuff ourselves. But because of just the set, the way that it works out, a fair amount of these units already, like these Wookiees, already had bounties on them. So your opponent may be playing into this unwittingly themselves. I assume at least a handful of cards in their deck probably will be doing that already. We're playing Kragan Gore on the top end. He's a rare, not super great. Again, one of those cards that's not super great in Constructed, but I think is fine in Draft, fine in Sealed too. It is a rare. So when an enemy unit attacks our base, we can give a shield token to a friendly unit in the same arena. So if he's on the ground and they attack our base on the ground, he can put a shield on something. So if they start to ignore our units, and are just trying to push damage on the base, we can suit up a lot of our units with shields, attack, and then trade or get rid of their units. So I'm playing this mainly because of Gar Saxon, because Gar Saxon cares about the upgrades. Each unit that we put a shield on will get that power bonus. Plus a 6/6 on 6 is not bad. It's fine to play in Sealed. Maul, I kind of covered a little bit already. His on attack is looking for underworld units, because you can shift the damage that he would take onto those underworld units. I believe we've got 4 or 5 main deck out of these 30 cards, so we may not be doing that quite so much. He's mainly in there to be an ambush, overwhelm, finisher on the top end. Got Nima Outpost Constables. That's just to keep a little bit of damage off of our base, since they're a Sentinel. 2/6 if we can get out a Kragan Gore or something like that. Actually, Kragan can't, because they would have to be running into the Constables first. But if we can keep some damage off of our base for a little bit, I think it's worth that 4. Plus 6 is a big body to have out there. So I think really that we also just didn't open like a whole lot in these ground slots that I would change for that. Like I don't think I would change something like a Frontier Trader for that. And we're not playing a lot of Mandalorians for like a Mandalorian Warrior, so that's just kind of out there, a little bit of filler. Pike Sentinel is, I think good. Again, maybe a little bit more so in Constructed, because 2 for Sentinel and blue-black is pretty good. Here again, just a Sentinel, just to plop down if they drop something big that we need to keep some damage off, or we're trying to force them into trades. Fine to drop this. Resourceful Pursuers are bounty hunters. They have Saboteurs, so they can ignore our opponent's Sentinels and just attack the base. Just a good 5/6 potential game ender there, even if they've dropped their own Sentinel units like Pikes or Outpost Constables. We can use this to go around that. So just a kind of generic top end. Super Commando Squad synergizes with Gar Saxon, because they come out with the shield, so they're automatically a 5/4. And they also themselves are Sentinels, so keeping some damage off off of our base. They've got to attack into a 5-power shielded unit. And then Toro Calican just has a lot of health. Again, a little bit of filler in this deck. I think he's very good if you've got a whole lot of bounty hunters. We do not have a whole lot. He's better in that scenario where you can attack, ready him, attack, ready him. He can put out, like 6 to 9 damage on a base. We don't have a whole lot of bounty hunters ourselves, but as a 3 drop, 3/5 is just, fine to use. Good stats. Those are the same stats as the legendary Boba from Spark, so fine to be using. We've got 5 space units, a little light on that. We could go a little higher, but these generic HWK freighters as 2/5s just didn't really seem that great. They're just common kind of filler units. We do have a Clan Saxon Gauntlet. So the Clan Saxon Gauntlet is when it's attacked and it has Sentinel, you can put an experience token on it. If you've watched my gameplay where I was playing Constructed, I really think this is Constructed playable in a Gar Saxon yellow, blue, black deck because it will automatically trade for a fire spray. Right, which is a big unit that comes out in like Boba builds, because with Gar Saxon, the Saxon Gauntlet automatically becomes it'll become 6/6. So really large space unit. This will probably be one of our finishers, even though it's an uncommon. Too bad we only opened one of them. We're running 2 of these HWK freighters just to have some presence because we don't want to not have any space presence at all. That will probably not end up very well for us. And the 5 body is still not bad. It's not bad. It's not like it's just going to die right away to something. These privateer ships are actually very good because if we've got another unit, whether that is in space or on ground, and we've got criminal muscle, we've got sharpshooter, we've got the hunters, we've got the pursuers cards themselves. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You got about 8 out of these 30 cards that can trigger this, and if we can trigger it, it'll be pretty good because then we've got a 3/2 shielded unit in space, which basically turns these into a 7th Fleet Defender, but for 1 less, so even better. We'll go into upgrades here. We're running all the upgrades that we opened. We're running Foundling, and again, this is just because all of these upgrades, even these generic things like Foundling, we don't really care about the Mandalorian trait. The +1/+1 is okay, but getting another power, this basically turns it into a 1 cost +2/+1 instead of +1/+1 because of Gar Saxon. So we're just running these. Also, it's good, to stick these maybe on like a Sentinel. It's pretty versatile, toolbox kind of a card where you can kind of stick this onto something, trade it for an enemy unit. If they've done some math and figured out they'll kill you by 1 health, and you stick this on something and then you can kill something. I think these cards are all right, especially I don't know if I would have done this in a deck that was not based around Gar Saxon, but because he's giving you that extra power from the upgrades, I think it's a little bit better than it would otherwise be. We got Public Enemy, so that again, this puts a bounty on stuff, which our Haxion Brood is looking for, but also if we get the bounty, it will put a shield on our unit, which will buff, then that unit will get the buff from Gar Saxon if it didn't already. So we can use this Public Enemy to put the shield on our sentinels like our pikes or our outpost constables, that kind of a thing. And plus it costs 0, so not hard to run at all. In fact, if I could have 2 or 3 of these, I would probably be running more, but we only opened 1, so that's what we've got. Rich Reward, similar deal in that this will give experience tokens to some of our units, and then from there they'll get the buff from Gar Saxon. So if they're not already getting a buff because they have a shield or something, we can use Rich Reward to put it on there. It also, again, only costs 1, so it's not that hard to stick on something and then start buffing our units. Top target heals our base. If it's a unique unit, it'll heal our base for 6. Only costs 1, again, pretty cheap. Plus, we just want some bounties for our Haxion Brood. And the healing is nice, especially if you can stick it on a small unit. It'll make it hard for aggro to really get you very fast. We've also got the Vambrace Grapple Shot. So that can Sorry about that. Automatically exhausts defenders on attack, and plus gives +2/+2. Again, really +3/+2. Pretty good in Gar Saxon, and you can automatically exhaust something. So, worst case scenario, if you really want to exhaust a defender that is gonna like whack your base for lethal, maybe like your opponent's got a maul or something like that, you can run a smaller unit with this grapple shot into them and knock them out for a second. But also just good for the 3 power buff that it will be giving us, because if we can stick that 3 power bonus on something like Maul, you know, he's going to be hitting for like 10 overwhelm, right? So, you know, pretty good. In events, we've got Covert Strength. That's really just here. Again, I would be running more of these if I had opened them. It heals 2 and then gives experience. So, you can, it doesn't have to be damage to play this on there. Like, you don't need to heal the damage to give them the experience. You could also use this as a 1 cost, give them an experience. And also it's got more versatility because it's got smuggle. So you can play this for its smuggle cost of 3, and resource it if you don't really need it at the time. So pretty good, pretty versatile card. Would run more if we had them. I'm running Evacuate here. I thought a few times about this. I'm not sure. I'm just going to run it at first. I might switch it out after a game or two. This returns each non-leader unit to its owner's hand. Constructed probably will be a staple card in these control builds that have yellow, just to be, you know, it's a cheaper super laser blast. In sealed, this is less good because you're not playing constructed and the card pool is smaller. And they're just not playing 3 copies of a bunch of stuff that you would be wanting to bounce with this. But at the same time, if you find yourself in a pretty bad board situation, you get to the mid rounds, this might be an okay way to reset. And try and stall for a minute till you can pull your maul and then finish the game. We got Fell the Dragon, one of our only straight up removal cards. It defeats a non-leader unit with 5 or more power. Pretty straightforward, costs 4. Kind of similar to Takedown but reverse from Spark, because Takedown is 4 or less, also costs 4. So just kind of a reversive takedown just to answer their threats. We're not running a Lurk the Other Way, which is a temporary exhaust for 0, just because I didn't think it would help that much. We're probably more of a mid-game style deck. This would probably help more in a aggro deck if we opened more of them and could push out a lot more early damage, which I don't think that we'll be doing. Maclunky is an Underworld Trick. That is another form of removal because you can bounce unit to your hand and then deal 3 damage. So we're running that. And then No Bargain is actually Maclunky says 3. I thought it was any unit, so I think I may have made a little bit of a mistake. I might go down to 0 of those and be running 2 No Bargains, just because, I mean, we can check, but I don't think we've got a whole lot of Underworld. We're on Fringe, we're on Vehicles, we're on Mandalorians, we're on Bounty Hunters, Bounty. Okay, there's 1 Underworld. Let's see, 2, 3, but those are our top end. 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, it's okay, especially with Criminal Muscle, and we do have 7 hits for it. I just don't know if it's great because some of those, it's like we've got Maul and we've got Finnick, who we probably aren't going to be bouncing, right? This is kind of like an early game, keep stuff off the board, play your value cards like Muscle over and over again. So I might keep that out, but Maclunky's a fine card if you've got enough Underworld cards to run it. So what I switched there was 1 more No Bargain. I was running run mate 1 of them main deck and out of our 30. So now we'll run 2, but that is each opponent discards a card from their hand and then draws a card, which is just okay. It's a little bit of filler, and also fits the deck style that we're going for, which is a little bit of attrition, a little bit mid-range, a little bit control. So that's the deck walkthrough. We'll go into the first game against the AI here in a second. Alright, we'll go into game number 1 here. Looks like we're frozen for a sec. Okay. Looks like we are up against Ray. Ray can spend one and use an action and then give an experience token to smaller units. But it says 2 or less power, and experience will buff their power, so she can only do that so much. She's kind of a weenie deck if you're used to those from Magic the Gathering. We can also knock those off with Criminal Muscles, should we need to do so. If they have a turn 1 drop, we can top target them and then play a Hunter, which I think is probably what we're going to do. I think we're going to resource this Evacuate, just because I'm not sure about main decking it anyway. In this Freighter, the only thing I hesitate with the Freighter is if they got like a space unit and we're going to be waiting to play that Gar Saxon Gauntlet. We don't have a lot of main deck removal, so it might be hard for us to do much there. I think we can pass, and they're going to look at our resources and then they can defeat anything with Smuggle. I think Scanning Officer is a really great card, something to look out for in draft, especially because if you're trying to smuggle some really big thing, she can kind of mess with that. Although they are at uncommon, but you just got to kind of be careful with that. So I'm not sure. This is a little bit rough. I mean, I don't know but they'll both get the buff from the bountied unit. So I'm really thinking we'll probably resource this muscle here, and then we'll play the Hunter next. I have not used Force Tables since my last video, which I think was about like 3 months ago or so. So, okay, they put 1 on her. They use that experience, so she is now a 3/4. But we'll play our Hunter. They're going to just be attacking our base, it looks like. But we can claim the initiative there. Okay. So I think we're going to resource this No Bargain here. They do have a lot of cards in hand. It's fine to draw. It's just not super great. We can play both the Grapple Shot and the Privateer right now. So I'm going to play the Privateer first, just so we get like some space presence. It'll be hitting for 3. We can also like kill their Scanning Officer with our, if we want to. They've played a Freighter in space themselves. So I think what we'll do here is we're just going to attack their unit, and that will heal us back up. And then we're just going to heal it straight for the base. Looks like they'll put the experience on there. So that is now a 3. Not bad. Especially if they hit that. Worth noting with Gar Saxon is if they can like knock that shield off, then you're kind of out of luck. We'll resource that Covert Strength, I think, here. We're just going to attack right away to get in that damage. Really what you should be doing most of the time in this game. We'll see if they try and, nope, trade for our stuff, or at least slow us down a little bit. Play another one of those Freighters. This Hunter would not get the buff, so really I'm just gonna play Toro Calican here. Ray can come out on 6, which is the same as Gar Saxon. We're gonna take initiative here. We can play a Saxon Gauntlet right away. And this public enemy, if we can put that on either Ray or on their ships, will give us that buff for when we play that Hunter. But having the Privateers in space is also good, so it's a pretty big, but they've got a really large space presence here. I think we really want to kind of arena dodge them, play more in the ground. Okay. So we're just going to attack right away. They've got 6 on board, but we've got a lot more than that. Okay, so Ray has 3, so she'll heal 3 whenever she attacks, and then again her ability is the same, but she can put that on herself, so she can put herself up to 7. But I really think we can probably get rid of her ourselves. Also, this Cad Saxon gauntlet, if we play that, it doesn't have to give experience to itself. It can give experience to other things. So it's just whether we want to really try and get rid of Ray now or not. But either way, we're probably going to be attacking into the base. So they healed 3. And then they attack. They're going to give her a buff. Okay, so I think we can really kill... Does she just die to our hunter? She may. It just depends on if they're going to attack or not. We should probably just deploy Gar Saxon. We can also put the experience from that gauntlet onto... let's see. If they hit it for 3... yeah, they're still gonna have to run 2 things into it, so I really think we probably want to be giving other units experience from it. Okay, so Gar Saxon is now 6. I mean, yeah, this hunter can just straight up kill their Ray. Should have probably put a public enemy on that. We'll give an experience to Toro just to like spread it around, because that way we've got like experience spread out among a lot of our units. We made a little bit of a misplay there. We probably should have played like public enemy on our Saxon gauntlet to last a little bit longer. Actually, no. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking there. Because then they would put it on theirs. But I think there was a way to put, what I meant was, that's what I was thinking. Like, we should have put this public enemy on the Ray, run the hunter into it, and then put the shield on the Cad Saxon gauntlet to give our unit the shield. That's that line of play. We probably should have tried to order it that way. But anyway, we're gonna have to pass there. But I think we're probably in a good position because, of course, they're at 19. They're at 8. We can also heal back up with this Juggernaut. Really, I'm gonna resource this hunter at this point. We do want to go up to 9 because of the maul. They'll be able to go first, so they may be able to damage our privateer. But looks like they because they've got Sentinel, so it's a 3-5. So maybe we won't do that. Let's just hit with everything we can on the ground, because I think that we've got lethal on the ground anyway. We're gonna play Rose, a shielded 2/6. She can also give a shield token to friendly units. Oh. Okay, no, it's defeat the shield, give the 2 to a unit. Okay, sorry about that. I have not extensively read every single one of these. I mean, I think they're dead anyway, because no matter what, we're just going to attack them with Gar Saxon, and that should be the end of the very first round. So easy peasy there. But that will be the end of the first game. I will see you in the second. Alright, we're going into match number 2 here. As you can see, there's a +4 and a +8 here at the bottom. Those numbers are just because to simulate an increased difficulty as you go along in the matches, it just increases base health. So the base health will be 34, then 38, just to kind of simulate difficulty. we got a pretty good draw here because we've got 2 Haxions plus a 0 cost public enemy. So we're not going to mulligan here. We're going to resource that No Bargain and that Toro Calican. Because we'd like to keep this freighter isn't super good, but at the same time, we don't want to not have the option to like play some cards in space if we have to, especially if they do it early and they've got like 2 1s or something. We don't want them hitting us over and over and over again. We're gonna pass here though because we really want them to drop something, yeah, like this scanning crew, so that we can put public enemy on that for our Haxion next turn. Scanning officer is very good. I expect her to be super good in draft and sealed, just because she hits those smuggle cards and can kind of like unexpectedly hit, especially if you got some of those like rare or better, right, like really good cards in your smuggle. You resource them early. I think she's going to be pretty good and potentially yeah, very good at just like pulling them out. So you kind of have to watch out for them if you're playing in green. If you're going into that kind of a sealed environment or something, you probably want to be aware of that. Okay, so they play a 2/5 Outlaw Corona, and that lets you ramp if you can get rid of it, but a 3/5 is like pretty good. Okay, so they're going to use Cad Bane's ability. Cad Bane is pretty good into us because he'll just be basically like knocking off all of our shields, which we kind of like rely on. With him, when you play an Underworld card, you can exhaust him to do a damage, so he's going to immediately like knock our shield off of our Haxion Brood. He can do the same thing with this privateer ship, right? Probably don't need 2 of these freighters, especially since they're just kind of yeah, filler. So we're gonna play another hunter here. At least we're gonna make them spend that, and then we'll attack here because I don't think we need that anymore, and then we can put that shield like back on ourselves. So they'll play their own, and then they're going to ping a shield off of something, so we'll do it off of that newer one. And then we're just going to take initiative right there. Okay, so our Saxon Gauntlet is very good in space. This freighter really is not good into like what they're playing, so we're going to resource that. We should be able to play that Saxon Gauntlet next turn. Let's see here. That is 4, but since we've got a shield on that, we can immediately kind of like keep their board clear, which I think is what we want to do. They're putting like a fair amount of damage on us. We can play this privateer. It'll come out with the shield so they can ping that off. Sure. Although I can pick like where it goes, I guess. So maybe we just have it go on there. I guess that is worth noting. Cad Bane does let you choose, so you can keep sticking it on the same thing. So you don't have to like keep knocking your shields off. So a little bit worse for them. They put a Mandalorian, which is not super great for them. So now it's just like whether it's a Pike Sentinel to keep some damage off our base, which I think it will be, just because we can't be taking another like 11. I think it would be on base. Cad doesn't come out till 6, which is the same as Saxon. Evacuate. Ooh. This is like one of the situations where it might be okay because then we can just like bounce everything right back, and then they've got to like replay. But we don't have like bounties. I guess they do because they've got like a bounty on their Outlaw Corona, which is better for like those. It's just like whether this is better or not. Because Covert Strength, if we give that to the Sentinel, that can give it 4/5 4, and then it would be, yeah, because we give it an experience, which puts it 4 defense, 3 attack, but then Gar would put it at that, so it'd be like a 4/4. So I really honestly think we're going to resource that evacuate. Although they're going to go first, so if they get rid of the Pike Sentinel first, won't work. But that's okay, because we can still play this, which means they're not going to be able to hit us right away in space. We have to really get rid of that Craig and Gore, because if we don't get rid of him, let's see, we will do... Yeah, we gotta like get rid of him, because if we just like attack the base with anything while he's out, they're just gonna start putting like shields on everything. So let's see. Cad Bane can deal 4. If we hit Craig and Gore with Gar Saxon, yeah, so we're gonna have to run these hunters into there. And then we kind of really wanted them to like attack with that into there, because then we can start to buff Gar Saxon, but that's not going to happen, so we're just going to get rid of him. Okay. Then we can attack the base for free without getting those, they might just pass here, or like claim. Okay, so it's just what we want to do. We can attack, we probably need to attack into Cad Bane. Just because he'll only do 2 on the crackback, because he's only got 2. The other 2 power comes from the raid. So we can put this and I get like experience onto stuff. Maul is really good if we can like get up to there. I'm gonna resource that just because yeah, they should have attacked with like Bane for, actually no, because they're gonna get rid. Yeah, I was gonna say they needed to attack with Cad Bane first, like into our base. But I mean, this does the same thing at least for them, to get rid of Gar Saxon. So I see why the AI would do that. It does a kind of like attrition onto us. And they can't really attack us in the air. Okay, this heavy fighter has overwhelm, but you can get it up to 6, which is like enough to kill the gauntlet if you tap something with it. So we're really gonna have to run our privateer into it like before they can attack us with it, because then they can kill our gauntlet. So we're gonna discard our Wookiee, then we can draw. We've got it's actually probably worse for them to have this super commando squad, because that is a sentinel on the ground. We've got a sentinel in space. We can attack their base, so now is when we can kind of start to catch up from that early damage. We can get rid of Toro there. We can play Maul next turn, and then they'll definitely be out of luck by then. Okay, so it can deal damage again to something. We're just going to put it on this privateer because it's not like it's going to die. And then we can straight up, let's see, attack the base. Because when it's not upgraded, that we keep this Super Commando Squad upgraded, which we can also do with the Saxon Gauntlet, because we can stick experience on it, which will keep it upgraded permanently, versus with the shield that it comes out with. So I think they are probably out of it by this point. There's no way for them to get through what we're doing. Let's see, we can really put it on anything, to be honest, although not that commando squad. Okay, so anything with 5, so we could get rid of their Zuckuss even, so that they can't get us with it, because Zuckuss has a Saboteur, so he can like get around our Sentinel, but if they can't get around our Sentinel, then they'll be extra out of luck. We're even going to play this Constables just to be absolutely sure, but now, yeah, they should really not be able to do much. We'll resource 1, just this rich reward, I guess. That way we can ambush out Maul. They're playing a Hut's Henchman, so it's just a 3/4 shield, kind of just generic unit. We can ambush Maul out, but I don't even really know if we need to. Whoops. I didn't mean to, I meant to like click on that to attack with it, but it like knocked the Sentinel off of it, which is weird. So since we can't do that, we're just gonna start attacking. I mean, they're dead anyway, but yeah, that was not what I meant to do with that. Just like a user error, I guess. Yeah, they're super dead. Let's see, if we Maul Overwhelm, he's at, so we could do like 4, I think, from that. So let's just play it, because we haven't gotten to play it yet. So we'll ambush him into, let's see, let's kill Bazine. Should give 4 Overwhelm, and then that should be it. Oh, nope. I forgot, they're on 34. Okay. So now, Super Commandos, that's still only like 33. Man, I like almost had this. Because now this will be like the 35, or 34. Okay. Well, that was longer than it needed to be. Should have paid a little bit more attention. I know I said at the start it would be at 34, but I was just looking, saw the picture, and I just thought 30 because the picture says 30, but anyway, we got it in the end. Not too difficult. We'll go into match number 3 here in a second. Alright, we are going into match number 3 here. So this base will have 38 health. We will try and remember that. We are going against a Han deck, so this may be pretty rough. Han allows you, I guess it just depends on their top end, because Han allows you to play a unit for 1 less, deal 2 damage to it, so it's really kind of like a really great card. I really love it. One of my favorite cards from the new set. But he can spit out basically like a K2 a turn early, things like that. So if they've got, if they're playing like a kind of top end heavy deck, we could be in for a bit of trouble unless we draw our Saxon Gauntlet and can buff it up a fair amount. Just because Han can kind of like a lot more beatdown than we can deal with. And look at what we got here. We got like 2 no bargains. This is also not like a good opening hand, because we don't want to drop a privateer when we don't have another yellow card, because then no shield. So we're gonna have to mulligan there. Alright, this is a little bit better at least, because at least we can play that Fugitive Wookiee. We don't have another unit to exhaust when they kill it. It's not like it's going to matter. We can also use Covert Strength to buff him up, and Foundling to buff him up. And he'll get even more buffs from Gar, so pretty good. Also, this rich reward is pretty good. So I think we're going to get rid of this no bargain. And then it's like, what do we want to play the next turn? Do we want to try and heal him and give him experience? Or do we just want to try and like foundling him and then put rich reward on him? Make him pretty big. I think maybe we want to do all three of those things. So I know I talked about Han potentially outracing us in the last part of the game, but maybe we're just going to try and not get that far into the game. And we're just going to try and play some really large units right at first. This just the 2/2, pretty good with the smuggle because it can come out later. It'd be a little bit bigger, even though it would cost a fair amount. But let's see. We're gonna play that Wookiee. It will run fine into there, and then we'll have to pass. Okay. Man, it's just like, I don't really want to like forego the potential of like if they play something in space, we want to be able to play something on this, because even like with an upgrade we can make this into like 4/5 or 4/6 or something, because we could also use rich reward to give experience to this freighter, right? So I think we're gonna resource that pike, but we also don't want to like hold off on killing it just for that. Now this has 4, but it's just like whether they're going to be trying to push the damage on our base or not. I think to kind of hedge here, because we don't want to like put this on it or this and get up to a 4/4 and then they attack it and then they 2-for-1 us. We're just going to play the freighter and then attack their base. And we'll see what they want to do with that. Because we can, like, again, like, we can, like, trade with this, right? So we take initiative here. They played the Clone Deserter with Han. Really, yeah. For free, basically. Okay. This Hunter of the Hexion Brood is very good from our other games, too. I don't know if we need this Foundling, though. Let's see, we're going to go up to 4. So what we can do is we can play a rich reward on... Man, but if they keep this around, they're just going to, like, really get us, is the problem. But we've got to get rid of it at some point, so we're going to put a bounty on it. And then we're going to play... Man, it's just like whether we should... Is it given like 4? Because that would kill our Wookiee, and then they can exhaust our freighter. And we really want to have like other stuff out for like when the Wookiee trades for that. So I think we're going to play like the Hexion Brood. And we might play this Public Enemy for free. Okay, so they ran that Clone Deserter into our Hexion Brood. We're going to play Public Enemy on this to like stack all those bounties on one thing, just so they got that though. But then we can take initiative, and then we can like get that next turn, but even then, because it's like 4, yeah, it's just like pretty rough. Let's see though, we can play the Super Commandos and they come out with a shield, so that might be the best way to go about this. And we can always play Covert Strength from our resource pile, so we're gonna play Super Commandos. And then we can attack with our Hunter into there, which will give us all of our bounties. Okay, so we'll run them in any order because I don't think it matters. We're going to give experience to both of them. And then a shield. Who do you want to give the shield to? We'll just give the shield to the Super Commandos because they've got Sentinel. And then we're just going to start attacking. Man, I don't know if we should be trading for this. Maybe. We just can't, like, I just don't want to leave them with units. But maybe I'm used to playing, like, constructed control and mid-range. I just, like, don't want to leave them with stuff out. Okay. We'll take the initiative there. I mean, like, we can heal back up with the cargo juggernaut. Han allows them to, like, drop all that stuff. They played him to, like, get... I don't know if... Yeah, that was really super good on their part. Let's see, though. We can always play this gauntlet. Would be good too. Although, let's see here. 4. So we can still attack and get rid of this heavy freighter, or fighter, and just because like that's 6. If they've got anything to attack or to exhaust for that ability, they'll just kill the gauntlet right away. And we need the gauntlet out to be like stacking the experience on it. So if they can like kill it in one hit, we're kind of out of luck. But if we can keep that stuff off the base for now, we should be alright. And if we get like a nice heavy air presence, they might not be able to do all that much. Like I said, though, it kind of depends. Oh, we can even get, like, Gar Saxon out. Yeah. Okay. And then we're just going to leave them with, like, no board. I don't want any shenanigans from them. So we'll pass. Which leaves us with, like, 9... It's like 17 on board. We don't need Toro at this point. And yeah, I don't really even know what they would do to us at this point. They would need to kind of bounce or something, like evacuate, because we've got such solid board presence. I don't think there's much that they can do. Also run Finnick out this turn. As we get up to like 27, yeah, and then like no matter what, can like ambush Finnick. How much do we have? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We got even like 4 different costs, so she automatically will hit for 4. So maybe we'll just play her, and then we will, and we're going to attack with her just into Ketsu to kill it. Because the damage will just kill it before we take any damage back. And then we're going to hit them up there. So really, yeah, I was kind of worried at first based on like maybe my constructed experience with Han being very good. But if they can't keep anything on board, so maybe we just did a fine job of like keeping stuff off. Yeah, because if they could like swarm the board, we'd kind of be out of luck. But not much they can do. Alright, and that will be it. Who should get the final? Let's see. Who's been out here the longest? Probably actually this freighter. We'll hit in with that freighter. Oh wait, it's on 38. I forgot again. But I don't think it matters. So I should have hit with that Super Commando squad. Can't really return those. But they're super dead anyway. Can't believe I forgot that twice in a row. Let's see what they can do, though. Okay. Alright, we got it. We had plenty more on board, plus we're only at 9, so... Okay, that will be it. Yep, that will be it for match number 3. All right, so we'll go into this final section here. We got our 3 wins with Gar, no losses. We'll go into the sealed pool at this point. So just so you can kind of see, I'm using the pre-release version, so it does add the Mandalorian, Din Djarin, and Moff Gideon to the pool. We got our wide variety here, so I'm pretty good. Sometimes you get hit with a lot of similar things. We did not run into that here. We had like a lot of options available to us, but it kind of just depended like on the pool that we opened. So if we go here, we're just gonna go down by like ground units, then space units, then upgrades, that kind of a thing. So you know the deck that we ended up with, we had the walkthrough at the start. So one of our rares was Dr. Pershing. I really honestly think that like helps a lot, especially in these sealed pools. I would really think about running him just because he draws you a lot. Even if he draws you 3, that's like a 10th of your deck, right? That's like 10%, and he can sometimes draw you more, especially I didn't get to this, but I was like conceiving of it in my mind as I was going along. Right, that, like, you can heal him and you can put experience on him, and there's lots of ways in Shadows of the Galaxy to make him larger than he would otherwise be, whether that's with even giving him like a grapple shot or something and giving him like 7 health. So he can stay around a really long time, and if you get him like round 1, he's basically like kind of like a Phyrexian arena or something in Magic, except he's not doing damage to your base, he's doing damage to himself, so like even better, right? So I think he's honestly sneakily good, even though he might not kind of appear that way, at least as far as sealed and draft are concerned at first, just because he can draw you through a lot of your deck and also last a fair while. We did open 2 Deathwatch Loyalists and 2 Clan Challengers, so I was considering running those with Gar Saxon, and then trying to put things on them that way. But they are kind of like upgrade hungry, and I really opened like 5 in that color pairing, which 5 out of 30 is not bad. And again, I mentioned this when I was running through my Spark of Rebellion videos when I was going through back then. I kind of wish that they would let you run through with multiple decks. Right now, if you are just going through, right, like you have to click end sealed as soon as you go to 3, so it's not like you can like reset this and then play with like a different deck or something, which I think would really help us like practice, right? Because I think there's a version of this deck that might work. I was just more confident in the deck that we ended up using, but I think like a Deathwatch Loyalist build with Clan Challengers may have worked. I was just not that comfortable running only 5 things. I also like, I don't think we had like and we can see when we get down there too, the upgrades. A lot of those upgrades were bounties, and like these people need to be upgraded themselves, right? Like not see an upgrade on someone else. So you need like those grapple shots, you need that kind of a thing. And I know I had a grapple shot and a flamethrower and a few ways to put experience on stuff, but it seemed really like one of those was a bounty, and you don't want to be like relying on that to put it on them. Although I guess you could I don't know as they need it necessarily either. That just gives them overwhelm to kind of be a finisher. And with the Clan Saxon Gauntlet, you could probably just like stick it on them to make them like a 4/7 anyway. So like I said, there's maybe like a blue, black, red version of this deck that would have been okay to run too. But I just went with the yellow version. We're gonna scroll down here, run into these next things. We had like Echo, which I think would be good in the Han deck, especially with the Restore 2, because he can come out on the 2nd round and be like a 4 damage Restore 2 straight from then and put a lot of early board pressure. And especially if you can get those other cards that synergize with him, he can be very good. You saw these other cards, so I'm going to kind of skip over them. Housecast Soldier, again, would be like probably a key part of this Challengers, Deathwatch, Housecast build. Probably could have gone that way. There's a way that probably would have worked. Hunter of the Haxion Brood, I think really core, great part of that deck. Like you know, it's a common, but I think it's really like an uncommon, you know, plus at least like as far as like utility goes, right? In Gar Saxon, maybe even higher, right? Because if you can put the bounty on, if there's a bounty out whether that's on their unit already or whether you're putting it on it yourself. They come out with the shield, and they have like a 5/3 shielded unit on 3 is kind of insane. And this, honestly, like these two cards were the reason why I went with this build over the cast soldiers, the Death Watch, and the clan challengers, just because this seemed like a crazy way, right, to like push out damage, especially like early. Yeah, early. You can do that straight up with like round 2, putting out like 5 damage on a shielded unit straight from there, especially when you can support it with cards like Craig and Gore, and then just stick more shields on stuff is like really hard for them to come back from. I don't think I ran any of these Kintown Intimidators. They're okay. Not really like a big reason I didn't run them, besides that they're 1/4s and their use is kind of just to exhaust stuff so that you can last a little bit longer, but they're fine. And I might have switched it out for an Evacuate, honestly. I know we were running Evacuate in the final build, but like I said, I'm not sure about that in sealed or draft. Well, draft may be a little different, but like in a sealed environment. Craig and Gore, we actually did not get him. We saw him played by an opponent, and I think it was pretty good, right? Because it forces you kind of, especially if the thing to think about there with him is that if they drop a Sentinel or something, I mean, like, it's hard. Yeah, it's just like hard to go into him because like you've got to like run everything into him, because if you just start attacking the base, they're going to just put shields on all of their stuff, which was a situation we were in, right? We had like 5 units out, and we could have just kept attacking the base, got it down a fair amount, maybe to 30, but I think we were in that game where it was like 34. And you just don't, like, if they all have shields, including, he can put it on himself. It just says a friendly unit in the same arena. So if they put shields on all of their stuff with the crackback, they're basically one-sided board wiping you, right? Which is why, if I didn't verbalize that at the time, right, like that's why you want to get rid of him, because if you don't get rid of him, they'll put shields on all of their stuff, they'll attack back into you, all the shields will fall off, but they're going to keep all of their units, right? So again, maybe not a card you'll see a lot of in Constructed, but super good, super good in sealed and draft. This Mandalorian Warrior, if I'd had a few more of them, honestly, then I probably would have gone with that red build. We only ended up with one of them. They are a common, but that would put the experience on the cast soldier, would put the experience on the Death Watch loyalists, and then they would be like 5 power, right? Which is kind of what I was looking for when I was going with the Haxion Brood. But since we only ended up with one of them, they're really great in Gar Saxon. Like I said, if I would have honestly had 2 of them instead of 2 of those house cast soldiers, probably would have gone that way, but I didn't, and I didn't think like one of them was really good enough to try and make that red deck work. So we didn't go that way. With Maul, I think you saw it's okay to run like out of aspect stuff. I know, like, even in draft, you'd see people passing like overwhelming barrages and stuff. You can run cards that are 1 out of aspect. I mean, you know, as long as they're good cards like Maul, probably one of the best cards in the set, Ambush, Overwhelm, 7/6. He's okay on 9. You may go up that high. Sometimes sealed goes longer. It's okay to run cards like that. So, and especially like as a finisher, because he can deal like that last 3 or 4 damage to a base and then just end the game right there. So fine to run him, even though he's off color. These modded cohorts, I thought that they would be, I really like, I tried to go with Han. I didn't get enough playables, I didn't think. I tried like a Han version of the deck, a Mandalorian version of the deck, because with Han, you can deal the 2 damage to them and then play this modded cohort round 2, right? So you're getting like ambush 4 power basically, and then do 2 damage to something with like raid. So you could basically get rid of like whatever they played round 1 or round 2, unless they had like a Sentinel and you had to run into it. But 3 of those are pretty good, and I think this card is a very good card, especially if you can stack anything on it. It's gonna be hitting for 5-6 damage or so. Moisture Farmer, I just didn't think it would be very good in our deck because we want to be stacking experience on stuff, and Moisture Farmer is just not something that you probably want to be putting much experience or anything on. But I think the Restore 2 is fine. It's okay. You could have again made a case for that, or the Kintown Intimidator there. Either of those you could have run in the deck. Constables, fine. Filler, Sentinel. Those Night Owl Skirmishers. So, yeah, we got 4 of those. So, like in Sealed, I believe it's like Magic, where you can run any amount of things if you open it. So if you open like 4 or 5 of a card, you can run it. Is my understanding. At least that's how Magic works, and I think that's how it works here. So I was also trying to look of like how do we run these Night Owl Skirmishers, maybe like in a red, because we had like those there, and then the kind of like Mandalorian deck that is heroism plus red. But I just didn't think it was like as good throughout, like as we've got like with this Maul and stuff, just because of our rares, because we had like Kragan, we had Maul. Our rares were all kind of like villainy rares, or like the best cards, right? Like even Fennec Shand, but I guess you could play Fennec Shand and Mandalorian. Bad example, but like Kragan Gore, Maul, you know, good top end cards. So even though we opened a bunch of those, and we opened a bunch of Protectors of the Throne too, right? Like these are a very solid core of a good, you know, Mandalorian deck, but we only opened again like 1 Mandalorian warrior. And like I said, I tried like a blue and I tried like a red version, and there just like aren't enough upgrades to stick on this. The most upgrades we could get on stuff honestly was through villainy, which was through like the Hunters and the Kragan Gores, and through some of those blue cards that we had, right? So it was hard because we need to go into blue, so we didn't really want to go into red, but we don't have like any like white blue cards that really care about that same kind of thing, right? Like I guess we could have gone with like Rey, but then I just don't think she's as good of a leader maybe. But even then, again, like I said, it might be fun to test that, right? Like try red, try white, try blue, and then just try and go like with a weenie kind of deck, and then stick experience like on these Protectors, because then it turns them into 3/5s, right? Because Rey can immediately do that, right? So I think this is a good combo. You're probably going to see this from other people in your pre-releases, is she can use her action to experience with 2 or less power. So you can stick that straight on that Protector, and then, like I said, becomes a 3/5. And because it's an upgrade, because the token counts, she automatically becomes like a 3/5 Sentinel, right? So case for that kind of a thing too. Again, because our rares were Maul, Kragan Gore, I just didn't feel good going into heroism. But that Protectors plus Rey is very good. We also had Kira. Again, fine. We had like 1 copies of some of these playable cards. The Sundari Peacekeepers, again, right? Like really great Mandalorian Raid 2 Restore 2, especially in Han, where you can, if you can get into like Han Green. I play that in Constructed a little bit, testing for the next set, right? I mean, they'll come out and they'll be like basically a 3/3, for, right, like 2. So you play them like right away, plus they've got the Restore, so it's they really can't put any damage on you like while this card is out. They've either got to get rid of this, otherwise their attacks really aren't going to do much. Even if they get out like a 3 power unit, which is hard enough to do, you're just going to heal 2 of it and be back to like 1, so it's basically turns it into like a 1 power. So like they've got to get rid of it. If they don't get rid of it, you're going into the long game. So that can really help if you've got like a really good top end, to go that way with those Peacekeepers. We ran the 2 main deck Toro Calicans. He's better if you have more bounty hunters, but that's probably, you know, like enough about him. I don't think he did much in these games, but I think in some decks he can do quite a bit, because you've got a lot of bounty hunters. You can, you know, keep attacking with him multiple times, right? He only does it once, but like you can do 6 around basically with him if you've got multiple, like plenty of bounty hunters, and 6 around is a lot of damage. A lot of damage, especially on a 3 unit with 5 health. So I think he's very good. This Warbird Stowaway, so he gets a power bonus, I thought, and I still think there's probably like a version of this deck if you're going to a pre-release, because he's got the initiative +2/+0 plus smuggle. All the smuggle cards are good. So if you got initiative, he's a 4/3 when he attacks, but also like with Gideon being able to give them +1/+0 and the overwhelm, I really thought like if you can grab the initiative and then go, there's probably like a good version of like that kind of like a Gideon deck, and then that, but I just didn't get enough of those cards. Again, I just didn't think it was particularly good. Maybe if I had gotten some more of the playables in that build. These cards kind of filler. So space, if we were playing like Mando, we could have gone with these cartel turncoats. But again, there's kind of like a trade-off, right? Because the bounty is that they can draw a card, plus you're automatically providing a bounty for those cards that care about it. So it's kind of risky to use. I really kind of love that card design because it kind of really makes you think about that. But I think they're probably still pretty good to run, especially if you can put any experience on them at all. Again, like if we had like done this in a Ray build, maybe we go into like Ray yellow. Ray can put an experience on it, and then you've got like a 3/4 space unit, right? And you can do that immediately from turn 1, which is very good. A 3/4 space unit. So like I said, it might be fun to like, if maybe I'll put that in the Discord or something, right? But it might be fun to like be able to replay this, right? It might be fun to try that, right? Like try those cartel turncoats, try these protectors of the thrones in a Ray build, and then try and go that direction. Because I think, again, like this will be very good. These are commons, and so are those other cards. And with Ray, yeah, don't underestimate that. A 3/4 in space on the first turn is very, very good, and if you're underestimating that, that can kind of do you in. Clan Saxon Gauntlet, very good. Even better in Gar himself. So if you can open 1 or 2 of those and you get a Gar and you get playables, right, like we kind of did, you know, very good card, because you can put that experience on anything, which really helps out in the deck because he gives anyone the bonus and helps out in Indie Mandalorian deck, really. I don't think I would play this for 8, right? This is maybe not something that you would play out of Aspect as an uncommon, but I do think it's very good if you're in villainy and you care about experience. Collection Starhopper, fine card for the smuggle, but again, I mean, like probably better if you can like buff them with Ray or something, turn them into 3/3s. But yeah, these freighters too, again, 2/5. With Ray, they become 3/6s. And I'm talking about Ray a lot, but that's just because of like the pool that we've got. I think these heavy fighters are good if you're in green, because they come with the overwhelm already, and then you can exhaust friendly units. It does not say it needs to be space or ground, so these are very good, and they can even kill the gauntlets if you got anything to tap, which you saw me kind of have to deal with in the game. They kind of present a space threat that you have to deal with or you're going to lose, so be on the watch for those cards. Outland TIE Vanguards, like I said when I was discussing those, what were they? They're these Underworld, those Warbird stowaways, at those 2/3s with initiative and smuggle. Yeah, if I had like more of these, right, like I think these are very good with them, and especially into Gideon, and especially because I opened them all, so I was kind of like looking for how I could do that. I just didn't think I opened enough to be able to. So I wasn't, if I had like 3 TIE Vanguards, or maybe like 3 of those, and then stuff like, right, like maybe that would have played out a little bit different, but just one of them is like not worth it. This privateer ship, again, it was very good, ended up being very, very good. In Gar, you basically have like a cheaper 7th fleet if you're in that color pairing, so look out for those if you're playing Gar. I think these other 2 cards are playable. This Rokai gunship, the unlicensed headhunter, I mean, like I understand the use of it if you're in like really, really heavy aggro and you think you can win really quick. I guess it's just whether you think you're going to hit twice or more with this before it dies, because the bounty is heal 5, so if you hit twice with it and they kill it, you've basically done 1 damage to their base. But I just don't know if that's like really worth it, right? You basically need to hit 3 or 4 for it to really, really, really be worth it. It does have saboteurs, so it's easier for it to get in, but I'm just, yeah, I think it's going to be kind of hard to use in draft, but I'm sure it can be used effectively, especially if you can stack stuff on it. So our upgrades, we only ended up with 4 of them are in blue. We had like 1 flamethrower, 1 bounty hunter's quarry. Bounty hunter's quarry is really, really great. And I think like you're really going to be looking at like when you're building these decks, like what upgrades you have, especially if you care about, if your leader cares about that. So and since most of these were in blue, again, just like leaning towards Gar Saxon. And I think these honestly ended up working out very well for us, even if we could only get like one of them out. Because if you've got this many, like you've got 5 main deck, you're in a 30 card deck, I think that's plenty for the stuff that are like looking for it, to be honest. You might want to go up to 6 or 7 if you've got playables, but I would not jam in stuff that is garbage or like that doesn't work with your deck just to have it. Which Foundling was maybe, but like again, like I would like minimum 5 to make this kind of work if you've got a lot of stuff that is like looking for the bounties, right? Which made us like have to be in blue to pair with those Haxion Brood cards. And then event-wise, we're kind of all over the place. Bravado is fine. I was considering that in the red decks. I really think this Covert Strength is covertly good, again, because it gives you that experience. So the stuff that are looking for that stuff, like Gar, are like looking for that. Plus, you can always resource it and smuggle it out. And I think like sneakily being able to heal 2 from a unit and give an experience, especially, it just says a unit. So if you're doing that on your leader and they like hit it and then you like heal and put experience on it, like you can really kind of mess with someone with that Covert Strength. Evacuate, I don't think I was really ever going to run it. I did main deck it, but just for funsies, I guess, because it's a legendary. Fell the Dragon is okay, but like a lot of these cards have like raid or things like that, and you're not going to be able to hit them with Fell the Dragon, so I really don't think it's super good, and it doesn't hit leaders either, but I do think it's like necessary, like one of those things that you kind of have to run if you open it, like at least a copy, because if not multiples, just because like if they do open something like a Crate Dragon, like the only way you can beat it is by using Fell the Dragon, right? Which is maybe the irony of it, right? Fell the Dragon. So you kind of need that for the bombs, but in some matchups, I don't think it really mattered in any of our matchups, but it's like one of those necessary evils of like if they open some really big bomb and you have no way to deal with it, you got to keep it. But keeping that in mind, like do not waste this on something that will not kill you, right? Keep that in your hand until like you need it to like win. The cards are ready. No Bargain I think is okay, but it's, you know, kind of just filler. Pillage, same way. Same way with some of these other things. Spare the Target. Yeah, when I was doing like the heroic versions of this, where it's like return an enemy non-leader to its hand and then collect its bounty. I mean, bounce is alright. Especially like late game if they drop something that's like 7 or 8 and it doesn't have ambush. Like Maul, right? But other stuff, right? Like fine, right? Like if they tap out and you play Spare the Target. Spare the Target is not really good early game, and also you kind of again want a lot of bounties. I did not have blue, yellow, white to the extent that I thought that I could run this. I mean, I think it's okay, especially at 2 if you have like a fair amount of bounties that you want to be collecting too. It's all right, but and again, like I said, it can hit high drops. So but overall, I think that kind of covers everything overall. Like I said, I kind of wish I would let you like rerun it through. I think there might be like a fun Ray deck to try and like make with this, with like a lot of the 2 cost units that are a little bit overpowered because they come out with bounties, and then you use Ray to like stick more experience on them and then hope that you can like deal a bunch of damage before they can like do like recover from that. I think that might be like a fun deck, but I really think like out of the total pool that we've got, if you like look back over it, Gar Saxon's probably the best way to go, just because of the blue upgrades that we pulled, along with the Saxon Gauntlet and those other cards that come out with shields. Like that, especially that space one, I really think it was kind of like a sneaky MVP, that privateer ship, because it's like like I said, a 2 cost 7th fleet. So stuff like that, be mindful of that, like when you're building the deck. Just, you know the cards, know what's going on, so that you can take the most advantage of it. But I think that will be it for the overall sealed pool analysis portion of this. If you like this kind of a thing, be sure to like, and there should be some other videos popping up on your screen here soon. If they're not already, watch more videos, like, subscribe if you want to see this for one of each of the common leaders plus the pre-release leaders before release. I almost got there. on the Spark leaders. I was trying to go through all of the common leaders just to get through all the color combinations to see, like best, or good decks to build with them from the sealed pool. So we'll see if we get there on this or not, if there's interest for it. If there's not, I might just go back to Carabast, but we'll see how that goes. Thank you for watching, especially if you watched this long. You're a champ. Goodbye.